Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. Tragedy and worry in St. Mary, 2 sisters washed away during heavy rains. Opposition slams government over poor garbage management. And later in sports, Shelley and Fraser Price, Sharika Jackson and Elaine Thompson-Hira highlight Lausanne Diamond League meet in Switzerland. I'm Giovanni Dennis and here are the details. Up first, grief and worry in Job's Hill St. Mary this afternoon. 2 girls from the community were washed away during heavy rains in the parish around 2:30 Thursday afternoon. So far, the search for the 2 girls is going disastrously after one was found dead. She is suspected to have drowned. The search for her sister is ongoing. The sisters are 14-year-old Hallie Smikle and 10-year-old Kiwana Ricketts. It's not clear who is still missing. A major search effort has been ongoing since Thursday to find them. Residents and motorists were temporarily inconvenienced Thursday after heavy rains flooded a section of Lucy in Hanover. Some larger units crossed the flooded roadway. However, drivers of smaller vehicles had to wait for the water to recede. Residents at one point began using a boat to ferry people across the flooded thoroughfare. There were no reported major damage or injuries associated with the flooding. The Ministry of Education and the Jamaica Teachers Association, JTA, remain at odds over whether the ministry will be able to adequately replace the number of experienced teachers leaving Jamaica for other jurisdictions. The matter was among several issues discussed at RJR Gleaner Town Hall on the education sector at TVJ last night.
According to the Ministry of Education, 167 teachers have tendered their resignation since July. This has resulted in a shortage of educators at some schools ahead of the new academic year. But Acting Chief Education Officer Dr. Kassan Troop said the Education Ministry has systems in place to recruit and replace those leaving the education system.
We don't know that it's only our seasoned teachers are leaving us. We don't know that.
But it sounds like the vast majority or a good percentage of them are senior teachers.
Not necessarily.
I don't think they're recruiting.
Not necessarily.
I don't think they're recruiting young professionals at college.
They are.
Okay.
Young persons are creative and they're inspirational and they're making themselves known in the scene. Each year, our data shows that we add over 1,000 new teachers, what we call beginning teachers, into the system, right? And we have been able to provide mentorship over the years.
Dr. Troop added that the Jamaica Teaching Council, JTC, had established a mentorship course to train young teachers. She explained that currently there are 600 teachers available to provide support to schools affected by the shortage. However, newly installed president of the Jamaica Teachers Association, Lasandra Harrison, said the education system is still facing issues. Mrs. Harrison reasoned that seasoned teachers, some of whom were selected by the JTC to provide mentorship to inexperienced teachers, are also leaving. And for her, it is why the education system could face a crisis at the start of the new school year.
All of this, the fourth-year graduates exiting colleges will not enter the teaching profession. That's one. And also, or experienced teachers. We are on the ground. We know some of the persons who are leaving. My friends are going. They are seasoned, experienced teachers who have gone. When we even see some senior teachers, persons who would have been in posts, you have persons at even other levels of the education strata who are going as well. Principals are going as well. So we have a challenge. So when she asked about who will mentor, some of the very persons who the JTC had in that pool are gone.
Sandy Williams, TVJ News.
A standoff is brewing between the Bursars Association of Jamaica and the government over plans by the state to end bursar payment system for teachers. The shift in policy was announced by Education Minister Favour Williams, but some school administrators say the move also comes as a surprise. The union representing the bursars is also angry, saying the move has left many bursars uncertain about their jobs. But Minister Williams argues the move is for the greater good.
Based on meetings that I've had with the Bursar Association and what I know individually of bursars at schools, they are overburdened. They are overburdened. And this should make their load lighter and allow them to focus on those other things at schools. Almost all of our schools have canteens. Almost all of our schools do all kinds of, fundraising. There are all sorts of activities at the schools to which bursars will still need to pay attention.
The chairman of Aberdeen High School Board in St. Elizabeth is insisting the delays in repairing the damage done to the school over the summer will not affect classes when school reopens next month. Several buildings, including classrooms and the canteen, were damaged by wind and fallen trees during the extreme weather event that lasted about 20 minutes in July. The roof of at least 4 homes in the Union Housing Scheme in Balaclava also sustained major wind damage. Residents helped with cleanup efforts at the school, but the repairs should have been done before school reopens in September.
And they would have already signed the contract. Workman came in on Monday and work would have begun. I was told that the guidance counselor's office, math department, PE department and the tuck shop would be ready for September, but the overall repair would not be completed until roughly mid-October. We're confident that with what we have, with the limited space we have, and with the number of students we would have gotten through the PEP examination, that we'll be able to work through the difficulties and class will resume on time.
To other news, more criticisms from the opposition about the government's handling of the garbage pile-up across the island. They have rubbished the truck shortage excuse, with a former National Solid Waste Management Authority NSWMA boss suggesting the crisis is as a result of the mismanagement of the entity.
With the island's garbage pickup issue worsening with each passing month, the NSWMA and the Jamaicans are almost literally holding their breaths for the 50 new garbage trucks to come into the country at the end of the year. However, for PNP councillors, including Andrew Swaby, the problem goes deeper than a shortage of trucks.
While we agree that this is necessary, it is necessary to have adequate number of reliable trucks to carry out their tasks, we believe that it is because of their inability to pay the private contractors on time, which will result in private contractors shy away from working for the National Solid Waste Management Authority.
For Joan Gordon Webley, who served as executive director for the NSWMA under the last PNP administration, proper management at the agency would fix that problem. Additionally, she says under her leadership, 60-foot containers were purchased for each parish to serve as massive garbage drop-off bins for trucks.
And when those bins were filled, we would back it up with a tractor head, and we would take that tractor head to the dumps instead of every truck going to the dump. That is a waste of resources, a waste of time, and it is not proper management.
She also criticized the authorities for what she said is the ineffective enforcement of illegal dumping laws and the mismanagement of the dumps. She added that she's also against the plan to close the Riverton dump, this following an announcement from the Prime Minister to demolish the country's largest disposal facility.
What needs to be done is the rest of the land needs to be looked at and start to prepare properly for a proper landfill. And when you start to break down what we're using now, we can transfer the material to the properly lined landfill.
The PNP members were speaking at a town hall meeting organized by PNP councillors of the KSAMC at the Duhaney Park Primary School on Wednesday.
Another domestic dispute turned deadly in Orocabessa, St. Mary after a man was stabbed to death allegedly by a family member on Thursday. The victim has been identified as 37-year-old Omar Murphy, otherwise called Ziggy, a taxi driver from Fontabelle in the parish. Reports are that about 2:30 Thursday afternoon, Mr. Murphy was at home when an argument developed between him and another man. Residents said during the heated exchange, Mr. Murphy was stabbed in the chest with a knife. He was taken to hospital where he died.
I feel bad. Jesus Christ. We can't explain and tell you. Lord have mercy. And I'm my son. Jesus. I tell you, I can't talk. And I think we can't make it. I think we can't leave out. Whoa!
I feel bad about him, man, because I never expect something like this could have gone right now. You see what I say? Because the youth good and a nice youth. You see it, a taxi and run, I mean, a team would have known say, and one family kill him.
TVJ News understands that a man said to be Mr. Murphy's relative is now in police custody in relation to the incident. Residents are bemoaning the alarming increase in murders in the parish. And over in St. Catherine, another domestic dispute turned deadly when a 34-year-old farmer was stabbed by her husband in Berkshire Hall in Linstead. She has been identified as Nikisha DaCosta Walters. Her 33-year-old husband, who is a farm worker, handed himself over to the police. The police have secured the murder weapon. It's reported that about 2 o'clock Thursday, the Walters were at their house when an argument developed which resulted in a fight. During the altercation, a kitchen knife was used to stab Miss Walters several times. Her husband fled the scene and drove to the Linstead police station, where he was taken into custody. The police found blood and a kitchen knife inside the suspect's car. The couple's 10-year-old son was not harmed during the incident. And it's now time for the Business Minute with Cody and Barrett.
Amber Aviation is set to take to the Jamaican skies by January with a fleet of 6 aircraft. The units will be utilized for air tours, especially tourists, but it's still awaiting the final issue of its permit from the local aviation authority. The 5 ultralight and 1 light sport aircraft have already been secured in South Africa. 4 Jamaicans are being trained to operate the aircrafts. Amber Group's CEO, Dosian Savadia, says the launch of the aviation arms of his 8-year-old company was part of a childhood dream and natural progression, given the need to diversify business lines at Amber. In business internationally, California is set to ban the sale of new petrol-only vehicles by 2035, marking a historic step in the state's attempt to tackle climate change. The new rules are aimed to force car makers to accelerate the introduction of cleaner vehicles on the market. The development comes after Governor Gavin Newsom set a target in 2020 to speed up the shift away from fossil fuels. The move is important as California is the most populous state in the U.S. and one of the world's biggest economies. That's it for the Business Minute this week. I'm Cody Ann Barrett.
And it's now time for the top regional and international stories with Sandy Williams.
In the region, the United States Coast Guard says it has seized cocaine worth an estimated $3.1 million. 8 men have been detained after the vessel was intercepted near Puerto Rico on Thursday. The crew of the Coast Guard cutter and the Caribbean Corridor Strike Force seized 330 pounds of cocaine in the Caribbean Sea. The 8 men, who claim to be Dominican Republic nationals, are facing a U.S. federal prosecution. On the international scene, at least 12 people were hurt on a Six Flags roller coaster in New Jersey last night. Medical personnel responded to the call from Six Flags Great Adventure in Jackson Township after several riders complained of back injuries. The ride apparently malfunctioned around 7:30 p.m. just before the park closed at 8. According to the park's website, El Toro is one of the fastest and tallest wooden roller coasters in the world. And those were the top regional and international stories. I'm Sandy Williams.
Well, thanks, Jermaine. That's also it for the Midday News. I'm Giovanni Dennis. Join us at 7 for Primetime News. On behalf of the news, sports and production teams, good afternoon.